Hey, how you all doing? It's cancer talk time, and as promised, this is pretty much, well, no, totally unrehearsed. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but I will say first, let's keep it upbeat. Let's at least start with, I'm having a nice cup of tea, English breakfast tea, as you all know. Whoop, wrong side. It's my favorite Garfield cup. I don't know, I think I got this at work. I work at a publishing company and we syndicate comics, as in comic strips, and that includes Garfield. We actually are a publisher for Garfield comic books, or not, well, books of comics, not comic books. Don't know why I'm telling you this, but that's what I do. I work in originally web development, and now I do DevOps, data, back-end system stuff for a publishing company. And there's a part of the company that's all the digital work, and I've kind of moved from there to, like I said, more DevOps or operations, whatever you want to call it, and also, God, just jack of all trades, really. I've been there forever. So that's what I do. And I found this coffee cup there. I think it was just on the shelf one day, and hey, why not Garfield? Little hint, or something nobody knows probably, is when I test things, systems and sites or whatever, I always use GA. It's our Garfield feature code, just because. So today, what is today? I'm not even sure. And my phone's my camera, so I don't have anything to look it up on. So it's Sunday, I know that. No idea what today is. That's okay, it doesn't matter. I had a couple things I could talk about. There's been some talk on Twitter. Some stuff that I'd like to talk about, but maybe later. One thing that I've been thinking about writing an article on is, Cancerversaries. I don't know where you are on a Cancerversary. Those of you who don't know, Cancerversary is, the anniversary of your date of your diagnosis. So I had a de novo stage 4 diagnosis of prostate cancer, and de novo means you were first diagnosed with stage 4. I didn't have stage 1 through 3, and then it came back. I started at stage 4. That's all I've ever known. And, well, I prefer not to call it that. Stage 4, at least with solid tumors, pretty much used to be called terminal cancer. There's so much research and treatments that have come along. It is that, but it's, we have a better prognosis as far as living longer. I know a lot of people don't like the term, well, besides chemo brain. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll talk about it later, I guess. No, I know what it was. Treating cancer is a chronic illness, so some people like that and some people don't. It's kind of how my oncologist explained it to me, and I actually, now that I've had time to think about it, what I realize is that it's a chronic illness. We can treat it like a chronic illness as long as I have medication that works. Once I'm out of options, then it's no longer chronic. For sure, it's not chronic then. So with prostate cancer stage 4, there's a lot of different treatments you can have. My particular diagnosis was very, very high tumor burden, very aggressive cancer. It was, stage 4. First bone scan I had, it's really not much different than it is now. It's my skeleton is filled with metastases. My spine is, if you look at a bone scan, as I mentioned before, if it's black, that's where the cancer is. or the metastases, and or both actually. So in my case, the spine from top to bottom is just black. It's like someone took a picture of a scan and took a black magic marker and just went down the thing, because it is solid black, which basically means my entire spine is filled with, metastasis from my prostate cancer. And then it's all over my ribs and pelvis and arms and legs. Yeah, I mean, that's how I started, which is a good reason for men or women to have your men in your life, father, brother, husband, boyfriend, whatever, to make sure they get tested and screened. There is some controversy with the PSA. Most people, and myself included, will say, PSA is like a check engine light. You could have a high PSA but not have cancer, but it would definitely be something that would behoove you to check out. I have a friend of mine in a state metastatic prostate, or actually it's metastatic cancer support group. He just happens to have prostate cancer, and he didn't know he had cancer until he broke his shoulder, I think it was. And when they went to fix it, they found cancer, the metastasis, and he had no idea. And his PSA has always been, under 1, which is good. And to this day, it's still like 0.1 or something like that. And, no idea that he had cancer. So in his case, great PSA, but he had stage 4 cancer. And then I've known of people who have really high PSAs, but end up not having prostate cancer. But it is something. There are different reasons your PSA can be high. I think there's a certain point probably where if your PSA reaches a certain level, and for you out there who don't know about PSA and prostate cancer, the higher is worse. I think for men, generally, the range 0 to 4, and it depends with age and a few other things. But 3 or 4, that's the top level of good. 5 is bad, 10 is bad, 20 is bad, so anything above 3 or 4 is bad. But it doesn't mean you have prostate cancer. Again, we call it the check engine light. It could be a lot of things. When I went in, I ignored some symptoms. I can't deny that. But part of it, I didn't know they really were symptoms. So when I did have symptoms that were, they were not good. I couldn't urinate. I couldn't go to the bathroom. It hurt so bad. And then one night, I couldn't go at all. So I was thinking, is it going to be 911? That's our emergency number here in the States. Or am I going to drive myself to the emergency room? And I finally was able to go, but I was doing crazy stuff like lying on my side and lifting my leg up really high and trying to pee in a cup. I mean, it sounds stupid, and it was, unfortunately. But it finally did get me to the doctor, and so I had my PSA taken, had a blood test, and then that was on Friday. And then on Monday, I got a phone call from my doctor, my general practitioner, and he said, your PSA is 5,306. And I know I've said this before, but I mean, that's an ungodly high number. And I knew at that moment I had cancer. There was no doubt about it in my mind. And when I say I knew I had cancer, I knew I had stage 4 cancer. Just no way it could be that high. And so the next week I got in to see a urologist at a cancer center. And that's, if you ever need to go to a urologist for anything like this, go to a cancer center, please. I know there's good urologists out there who don't work in a cancer center, but it would just be a good idea if you did that. And so I went in, we did the biopsy, and it turns out that I did have stage 4 cancer. This thing called the Gleason score, which you get from your biopsy. Usually, I mean, just for the sake of the scoring, there's never anything under a 6. So it's between 6 and a 10, with 10 being the highest. And I'm not going to go into what it is, because I've mentioned it before, and I still don't think I can explain it right now. But 10 is the worst. There's two numbers. You have two separate numbers. It can be from 0 to 5. I think 0 to 5, 1 to 5. So and the other one. So your worst score would be 5 plus 5 or 10. Mine was a 9. It was a 5 plus 4. So it was nearly as bad as it could get. And I think I had 13 cores taken in my biopsy. I think we took an extra one for some reason. Usually you do 12. And that's a whole lot of fun too. But all 13 cores were just filled with cancer. So there's that. So I had a very high PSA, and I did have prostate cancer. So I guess the first thing I want to say, which I hadn't planned, because I'm not planning anything on this talk, like most of them, get screened, get a prostate test by the time, what do they say, 50? But I would, definitely if there's been prostate cancer in your family, say your dad had it when he was fairly young, you need to get in there like when you're 40 or 45. If that's not the case, then, I think generally they say 50, but, and pay attention to symptoms. I can't list them all right now, but, lower back pain is classic. I had a cough for a long time I ignored. And then, you're not being able to go to the bathroom, as in urinating. That's another big one. So pay attention to that stuff. So I started this talk and got way sidelined, like I always do. I meant to talk about Cancerversaries. So it's like I said, it's the anniversary of your cancer diagnosis. I would say my cancer diagnosis, and there is some official thing on this, but I think it would be October 9th, 2017. That's the day I got my PSA. At that point, so that was a little over 2 years ago. So October 9th, 2018, I think my first round of treatment, my first, it was Lupron, which is hormone therapy, and I had done chemo, and my PSA started going back up. And at that point, it's considered castrate resistant, mostly because your testosterone is at castrate level, or more or less 0, yet you have PSA and it's going up. So we had to let that go a few times. I mean, test it more than once to make sure that was a trend, and it was definitely trending. It went up about 10 points every time in, which at that point I think was every 3 weeks. So after the third test, when my PSA had gone up to 55, I'd found a clinical trial, which oddly enough, my oncologist is one of the researchers in it, I believe, and we decided to go with that. So that took me to my second line treatment, which the trial, which I'm still on, which is good, was a second type of chemotherapy. You had to have already taken docetaxel, which I had, so this one's called cabazitaxel. Also called, the brand is Jevtana. And also the brand name is Zytiga. It's generally called abiraterone, that's the generic and the drug name. So I had still to get randomly selected for that. So I only had a 50-50 shot of getting both. So the trial essentially says, is the efficacy of Jevtana and Zytiga the same, better, or worse than Zytiga alone? So I actually got randomized into the intervention arm, which means I did chemo and the androgen deprivation therapy, the new therapy, the Zytiga. And I got to tell you, not often I think I would say, yay, I get to do chemo, but I was glad I got selected that, just the more, you just feel like it's taking care of your cancer. It did a fantastic job. It was probably the Zytiga more than anything, but I don't know. I'm not doing the research. Maybe the Jevtana gave it a little boost, but nevertheless, my PSA went from 55 all the way down to 7, and eventually went down below 1 to right now it's about 0.13. I think was my last test, was about a few weeks ago, and it's a year later. It's still working, so that's very good because the Lupron quit working in a matter of months, and that was my first round or my first line treatment. So there are so many types of treatments that are available, just depending on what cancer you have and just lots of other variables. But I can think of at least 3 or 4 more after this, so I'm hoping the Zytiga or the abiraterone keeps working as long as it can. I know generally, I think a year and a half is considered a good response time. So if you go that long, that's good. The longer is even better. So anyway, so my first year of having cancer, which would be there was no cancer, just year 0, was tough. It was really, really tough. A lot of it was well, most of it I would have to say was mental. I think most people will tell you cancer, probably any stage, but certainly stage 4, that it's just mentally, it's just a mountain of a thing to get over. And I was lying, well, actually I was sitting in a treatment chair getting chemotherapy, and I still hadn't really wrapped my head around the fact that I had stage 4 cancer. And here I am, getting chemo and getting shot for the Lupron, and I had a horrible, horrible time. So I started treatment actually in November of 2017. 2 or 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, and also through Christmas. I went from November through the end of February, and it's like you think the first Thanksgiving, well, again, U.S. holiday, first Christmas. I remember thinking, is this going to be the last Christmas? So everything really it was special, but not really in a particularly good way. I just couldn't get that out of my mind. And depression, anxiety, my God, it was horrible. I spent a lot of time in bed. I mean, I kind of joke about it now, but no, this was bed 24/7. It was just horrible. But like I said, a lot of it was my outlook. I just couldn't get over it. The chemo itself wasn't too bad. I had the classic side effects for this particular chemo in this day and age. No nausea, thank goodness. Lost some hair, had some stabbing pains in my bones and joints, and the metal mouth you hear people talking about, and then just fatigue. But so that was year 0, and really, it wasn't until I got done with chemo, and which was February, and then the spring and summer came, and I joined, as a support group, and it was really just getting over the chemo, and I started feeling a lot better. And really, the support group, it was a local support group that I still go to. I've made some fantastic friends. And it just happens to be, I don't go to any prostate cancer specific groups. Few reasons. One is most of the time it seems like there's not many people who are stage 4 because not that many people are stage 4 in prostate cancer. And a lot of the things that they approached, topics of conversation and things were not things that really applied to me. So I ended up going to the metastatic cancer support group, which I found really awesome because it's about 50-50 men and women and all sorts of cancers. But by chance, there's 2 other guys there with prostate cancer. In fact, there was only one guy there when I started. He kind of became my mentor, and we become really good friends. And so year 0, kind of at the end, it got better. I found, trying to think what I started doing. I may have started like working with Amberman Angels and a few other things, and the support group, kind of getting comfortable with that. And October 2018 came around, so that was my 1-year cancer anniversary, or Cancerversary. And that's about the time we knew I was going to have to switch to a clinical trial or some other treatment because of the first one quit working. So that was kind of, a bummer, but it didn't really affect me that much mentally. And so year one started with, a second chemotherapy with the Gibtana, or the cabazitaxel, and the Zytiga, or the abiraterone. And really, I went through that chemo, same schedule as the year before, November through February. I worked through the whole thing. I didn't miss a day. Yeah, there were days I was tired. Maybe a few days I'd stay home, like in the nadir, when I was just too tired to go. But for the most part, I worked all the way through it. And mentally, I was sound. You always have bad days, no matter where you are. I tend to be pretty upbeat about things, but yeah, you have a few down days. That's all I can say. But I don't have many. I didn't have many. Yeah, there were days I'd cry in the bus going to work, or just things like that. But year two was good, and then of course this trial I'm in, I've had really, really good results, really good. So, it's been a good year. And there are a lot of details I'm not going into. One of these days I'll go through some of those. But come a few months ago, October 2019, I can get this off, 2017, 2018. Maybe that last bit, I meant 2018. So this time, 2019. And I'm feeling great. I'm still on the same stuff, the clinical trial, so nothing new. And I've actually had my all-time low PSA, which is incredibly good. And I feel good. I do have physical pain. I talk a lot about that on Twitter. So I'm on 15 milligrams of OxyContin first thing, well, not necessarily first thing, but in the morning. And that kind of gets me through the day. Then I take another 15. That gets me through the evening, through the night. Because really it's tough. I was taking oxycodone, which is more of a short term, where I would take it after I already had pain. And that's hard to get past. So it's better to keep ahead of the pain. So that's why we do the extended release OxyContin. Because I'm not trying to outrun the pain. Occasionally I do have to take oxycodone during the day. If I have breakout pain, sometimes I have a little extra pain. So there's that. So I'm on my year, just started on year 3. Yeah, I messed up earlier because that was my year 1, 2. So I finished 2 years. I'm on my 3rd year. I had my 2nd year end of Cancerversary, and I'm on year 3 right now. Just started year 3, and I feel pretty good, physically and mentally, and everything. There were tough days. The longer you're in this, if you stay out there like I do, you lose friends, and that hurts really bad. It really hurts a lot, but I keep going. We all keep going, and hopefully just become more compassionate people. So there's that. What else I got? Somebody asked about how I pick my tea. It's black tea, black English breakfast tea, in my Garfield cup. Nothing special. It's just, it's nice bag tea, but it's not, anything super fancy or expensive. And I drink a lot of it, though I do love coffee. I don't deny that. I love lattes. I'm a soy latte fan. Trying to get used to oat milk, because some places only have that these days. I go to an Australian bakery a lot, get flat white, which is a bit like a latte. I love coffee too, but all in all, I love tea the most. So, I tried to have these cancer friend tea party, hashtag it. It's been a little tough since one of my friends who used to be in it had died this year. And, I just have to move on, but I'm not quite there yet. But we will have more Cancer Friends tea parties, so don't you worry about that. Boy, that was a whole lot of blabbing, and I went 25 minutes. So I think I'll stop now. And like I said in Twitter earlier, if you ever want me to talk about some topic or subject, I'm more than happy to. I mean, I'm just me. But if you ever want my take on anything, just let me know. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to go back and watch this video because I would probably not release it. But being me, I'm going to go ahead and head in the other room and upload to Facebook. Or no, God, upload to YouTube. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, upload to YouTube. Anyway, it'll be out on Twitter, in the next 15 minutes or so. I hope you guys enjoy it. Sorry it's so long, but even when I don't know what I'm talking about, or going to talk about, I can still talk for a long time. So, sorry about that. And like I say, is peace and love to you all, and I will talk to you again real soon.